To welcome the audience to the December 18th, 2018 Parish Planning and Zoning Board meeting. We'd like to ask you all to please stand while Coach LaSalle Williams says the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, again we come thanking Thee for allowing us another blessed day. Thank You for life, health, and strength. And thank You, Lord, for blessing us thus far. We almost see another year. We ask that You come in Your presence tonight in this meeting. We pray for our governments all over in the communities that they do that which is right. Come tonight seeking help from this board that we do what is pleasing in Your sight.
Amen. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation, under God, indivisible. Thank you, Coach. Ms. Christie, would you please call the roll?
Chair Art Little,
Here.
Vice Chair Randy Armentor,
Here.
Ms. Latricia Cobb is absent tonight, Ms. Julia Dickerson,
here,
Ms. Sharon Galicia. Here. Ms. Janelle Hyatt, Mr. Kyle Link.
Here.
Mr. Jake Porsche.
Here.
Mr. Gary Navarre.
Here.
Mr. Kirk Smith.
Here.
And Mr. LaSalle Williams.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Christie. This is an 11-member board. It will take the majority of those members present to grant or deny any requests heard tonight. The chair will refrain from voting unless the vote might affect the outcome. The meeting will be conducted with me reading the requests from the agenda. The planning staff will give a presentation and report their recommendations. If the applicant would like to add to the staff's presentation, or if someone from the audience has comments, please come to the microphone and state your name, address, and the nature of your request. All persons wishing to speak other than the applicant need to fill out a blue request to appear form located in the back of the room. The form must be given to one of the staff members prior to the reading of the agenda item. As required by this board's bylaws, in all cases, the proponents will be limited to 10 minutes. Opponents will be granted 10 minutes as well, with each speaker allowed no more than 3 minutes. I recommend that a spokesperson be selected if there is a large group waiting to speak on the same agenda item. If 4 or more speakers' request forms are submitted, the time allotted for individual speakers will be limited based on the number of forms submitted. The chair has a right to limit speakers who present redundant information or personal attacks. In unique situations, the chair may extend, or the board may vote to extend, the time allotted for speakers. After discussion, the board will vote on each request. I will announce the decision of the board after the vote. The exceptions and variances requests are final tonight. The rezoning cases will go before the police jury for final action on December the 20th, 2018 at 5:30 p.m. This meeting is being filmed by the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel and can be viewed on Wednesday and Thursday following the meeting. For additional run dates, check the website at www.cppj.net. Channel 5 in Lake Charles, Sulphur, Moss Bluff, Westlake, Benton, DeQuincy, and Gillis. Channel 99 in Carlos and Grand Lake. Please either turn off or silence all your electronic devices. First item of business is to take appropriate action to approve the minutes of the November 13th, 2018 Planning and Zoning meeting. I will entertain a motion for approval. I have a motion by Ms. Sharon, a second by Ms. Janelle. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. The minutes approved. Item number 6 on the agenda. Take appropriate action on VAR 1018-0054 a request by Stephen Asqua for a variance to allow 2 dwellings with less than required lot square footage, required 43,560 square foot, requesting 40,000 square foot, and with less than the required public road frontage, required 200 feet, requesting 100 feet, at 7437 Chris Lane in Ward 3. I'll entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Have a motion by Ms. Sharon. Seconded by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Wallace?
This property is located south of Lake Charles and encompasses just under 1 acre of agricultural zone land. Currently on the property is a manufactured home. The applicant would like to place a second dwelling on the lot to serve as a dwelling for his mother. If approved, the sewer system would be upgraded to serve both units. We have not received any written opposition to this request, and because the development is consistent with the character of the area and because it's a hardship, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to plans in light of technical or engineering considerations, and that the second dwelling be skirted prior to final electrical approval if that second dwelling is a manufactured home or a modular home.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's recommendations? If not, we have no opposition and blue cards. Any of the board members have any questions or comments? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Agenda item number 7, take appropriate action on VAR 11180056, a request by Perry Vincent for a variance to allow residential development 0.4 feet below the required elevation. The lowest required elevation is 13 feet 0 inches. Requested elevation is 12.6 feet at 3501 Davis Road in Ward 4. I'll entertain a motion for approval with the conditions.
So move.
Have a motion and a second by Ms. Hyde, a motion by Mr. Forte, second by Ms. Hyde. Ms. Wallace?
This property is located in the Westlake area within a flood zone AE. The existing house on the property was constructed in 1999 and met FEMA's 12-foot base flood elevation requirement, which was in effect at the time of permitting. In 2011, the police jury adopted updated FEMA maps that changed the federal requirement for elevation to 13 feet. In 2013, the police jury adopted a freeboard ordinance requiring an elevation in addition to that federal requirement. As a result, the current elevation requirement on the property is 14 feet. The applicant would like to construct a 1,200 square foot addition to the existing home, and rather than elevating the addition higher than the existing home, the applicant would like a flood variance to allow the addition to meet the elevation of the home, which currently is 12.6 feet. If granted, the flood variance would allow the applicant to construct the addition 4 inches below the federal elevation requirement and 1 foot 4 inches below the parish requirement. We have not received any written opposition to this request, and because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the condition that the flood variance be for this structure only. Any replacement must comply with the requirements in effect at the time of permitting.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything they want to add to the staff's recommendations? Any of the board members have any questions or comments? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Agenda item number 8, take appropriate action on EX 10180038, a request by CWC Ranch LLC for an exception to allow a 3-year extension to a borrow pit at 2592 WPA Road in Ward 4. I'll entertain a motion for approval with conditions.
So move.
I have a motion by Mr. Navarre. And a second.
Second?
Second by Ms. Dickerson. Ms. Wallace?
This property is located west of Sulphur and encompasses 155 acres of agricultural zone land. In 2015, a 130-acre borrow pit was approved at this location. The pit was not constructed and the 3-year time frame expired. The applicant would now like to receive a 3-year extension to allow for excavation of the pit. We have not received any written opposition to this request, and because minimal impacts are expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development must be in accordance with Section 26122-1F4 of the Parish Code, that a road damage bond in an amount to be determined by the parish engineer must be submitted to the Division of Engineering prior to issuance of a development permit, that permitting is subject to approval of Gravity Drainage District Number 2 of Ward 7, and that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's recommendations? Any of our board members have any questions or concerns? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Agenda item number 9, I'd like to announce that this case EX 10180039, a request by Reith Chauvin for an exception to allow commercial development, retail sales, and service of firearms at 1470 Tan Terrace Circle in Ward 1 has been withdrawn. No action is necessary. The applicant has withdrawn the request. Agenda item number 10, take appropriate action on EX 11180040, a request by Timothy Stelly for an exception to allow a commercial tower 150 feet at 1902 Gay Drive in Ward 4. I'll entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Have a motion by Coach Williams.
Second.
And a second by Mr. Link. Ms. Wallace?
This property is located in Carlos and encompasses 10 acres of single-family residential zone land. Currently on the property is the applicant's residence. If the request is approved, the applicants will lease a 75-foot square piece of property to Branch Communications, and that company plans to construct a 150-foot monopole tower at the site. We have not received any written opposition to this request, and because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to plans, and that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development or structures to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's recommendations? If not, does our board members have any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Agenda item number 11, take appropriate action on EX 11180041, a request by Houston River Dirt LLC for an exception to allow 2 borrow pits, 26 acres total, in the 2900 block of West Houston River Road in Ward 4. I'll entertain a motion for approval with conditions. I have a motion by Ms. Galicia and a second
Second.
by Mr. Link. Ms. Wallace?
This property is located north of Sulphur and encompasses 56 acres of agricultural zone land. In 2015, the board approved excavation of a 29-acre borrow pit on this land. The pit was never constructed. At this time, the applicant would like to receive approval for 2 pits, one being just over 15 acres and the other being 5.5 acres. We have not received any written opposition to this request, and because the surrounding land uses are agricultural, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development must be in accordance with Section 26122-1F4 of the Parish Code, that a road damage bond in an amount to be determined by the parish engineer must be submitted to the Division of Engineering prior to issuance of a development permit, that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, and that the development must be in compliance with the letter of no objection from Gravity Drainage District Number 5 of Ward 4 dated November 13, 2018, and with the right-of-way instrument with Entergy Louisiana dated August 18, 2016.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything else to add to the staff's recommendations? Any of our board members have any questions or comments? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Agenda item number 12, take appropriate action on RZ 1018-0101, a request by Bert DeVille to rezone from agricultural A1 to recreational vehicle park, RRVP, to allow recreational vehicle park 10 spaces at 2751 Foreman Road in Westlake. In Ward 7, I'm sorry. I'll entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Got a motion by Coach Williams and a second by Ms. Galicia. Ms. Wallace?
This property is located in the Vinton area and encompasses 4.5 acres of land. Currently on the property are 3 manufactured homes, 2 recreational vehicles, and a number of accessory buildings. The applicant would like to develop a 10-space recreational vehicle park on a portion of the overall property. The park will include an office. We have not received any written opposition to this request, and because the development is not consistent with the area, the staff recommends that the request be denied. Should the board grant the request, the staff recommends the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development or structures to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that RV park model types are prohibited, that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, that local development permit must be obtained within 1 year or property will revert to the original zoning, and that solid waste disposal must be privately funded.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's recommendations? Would please come to the podium and say your name and address, please.
Bert DeVille I live at 2751 Foreman Road. And I was asking why was it denied, we just building this park because I'm an old racetracker and I rode horses. My wife was a horse trainer, and all these people was asking us to put a park up because of the surrounding areas. They supposed to have put one up around there, 100 and something of them, but it never came through. And I don't know what's doing it, but I'm just trying to help the racetrackers, because I'm an old racetracker. And I just didn't see why it was denied, because I would do anything it takes to build this park, and they gouging them old poor boys back there, and I know they are. And all I'm building this park is to help them and help myself, And that's whatever it takes to build it, I'm willing to do it. And all these buildings on the property, like one of them, that mobile home, my mother-in-law just passed away. That was her mobile home. RV, and then as soon as it gets sold, it's going to be gone. And
Any comments from our board members? Any comments from our staff in regards to a denial? Randy?
The RVs that's on there right now, they're approved by the parish to be on the property as dwellings, or?
no, they're not even hooked up. One of them's mine, that's under a shed. The other one's just sitting there. And then
It's waiting to be sold.
yeah, it's waiting to be
It was
sold.
my mother's.
It's her mother. She just passed away about in June or July.
No, April.
April, I'm sorry.
Ms. Sharon?
Well, it sounds like he's got about 10 buildings there now. So if you add the mobile homes and the accessory buildings and the RVs, what's the difference in having is it just the zoning part that's different? Because he's got that many dwellings now.
He's not permitted for that many
Okay.
dwellings now. Right.
But ours wasn't supposed to be included.
Yeah, my property wasn't supposed to be included.
Our personal home.
I don't know, that's for the staff.
Yeah, see, if you looked at the deal, I cut off my property that's east of the property. And from my boundary line, I had my plan I drawed up was east of that property. So my barn and all those dwellings there are be fenced off from that. See that line there? Anything on that line to the east is not the part I want to rezone. It's to everything to the other
West.
side. And that one building's gonna be a service building that's there on that property. The other one is where my daughter lives, that trailer mobile home on the deal. And then the one furthest to the west, closest to the road, is where my granddaughter lived. All them buildings on the right, you know, one was my horse barn when I had raised horses, and a utility shed, cook shed behind my house, my carport, all
But
that's not
that's not
recommended
included.
into that zone I wanna rezone.
I had a question for staff. See, because of not being consistent with the area, is there any other RV parks in that area?
I don't know of any that have been constructed in that area, other than maybe at Delta Downs, which is inside the city. Right, isn't it inside the city? I don't know of any right offhand.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. DeVille. Yes, sir.
I just got a comment. At the last meeting, you know, we didn't approve a park in this area. And simply because I think we're having too many of them come up, and we have some properties out there that's been approved and nothing's been built on them. And until we can reel some of this in, or the police jury reels some of this in, or takes a hold to what we have and what we're gonna do with these properties that we rezone for man camps or RV parks or whatever we wanna call them, until they come up with a solution to reeling some of this stuff back in, we're gonna have a lot of properties out there 10 years from now that's gonna be rezoned for RV parks, and subdivisions are gonna go in by them, and we're gonna wonder why RV parks going in next to that subdivision 10 years from now. That these people are putting $275,000 right at the time. 10 years from now, it might be $500,000 houses. I don't have a clue, but I think we got too many of them out there now. I stand by what I said a month ago. I think I cannot wholeheartedly support these types of parks going in. We're calling them parks, and I just have a tough time with that terminology. Because there's nothing fun about them, and parks to me are something that are recreational, and there's nothing recreational about these. And until we can get, the police jury can get them reeled in, I wholeheartedly can't support them. And that's where I stand.
Thank you, Mr. Ormstorff. Any other questions or comments from the board? If not, can I get Ms. Christie? Would you make a roll call vote, please, ma'am?
Mr. Smith?
No.
Mr. Porsche?
No.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Mr. Navarre?
No.
Ms. Dickerson? Mr. Link?
No.
Ms. Galicia?
No.
Ms. Hyatt? Mr. Armentar?
No.
9 against.
Thank you, Ms. Christie. The motion fails. Agenda item number 13. Take appropriate action on RZ 10180102, a request by Reliable Properties, LLC, to rezone from agricultural to mobile manufactured home park, or MHP, to allow a manufactured home park, 58 spaces at 2070 Smith Road in Ward 3. I'll entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Have a motion by Coach Williams and a second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Wallace?
This property is located immediately south of Lake Charles and encompasses 10.5 acres Currently on the property are 2 manufactured homes. If approved, the park will include an office with a mail center and a storage area. The applicant is also requesting a variance on the minimum square footage per unit. That request will be considered in the next agenda item. We have not received any written opposition to this request, and because the proposed use is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to plans in light of technical or engineering considerations, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that screening must be provided in accordance with Section 2650 of the Parish Code of Ordinances, and that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's recommendations? If you would, please state your name and address for the records, please.
My name's Todd Glass, Reliable Properties. Just here for some questions and answers in case anybody has any.
Can I get your address?
Oh, 3716 Placid Lane.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry.
Any of the board members have any questions or comments? Thank you, sir. Hearing none, we do have 2 blue cards in opposition. Russell Drott, if you would, come up to the podium and state your name and address, please, sir.
Russell Drive, 2056 Smith Road. Good evening. I'm against the proposal of putting a manufactured RV park at this location. One of the things she said, there was already 2 mobile homes on that property. There's no mobile homes there at this time. There are some in the area, but there's nowhere near 58. You know, we live in a country setting, lived in a trailer park before. I moved out because I wanted to get back in the country. I grew up on this, you know, in this area. And so, you know, we like living in a quiet area. So the noise would be a concern. Another concern we have is the traffic is already pretty bad in that area for all the houses and all the new houses they've been building. You know, our traffic level has greatly increased. And where the proposed road is that would come out, from what I understand, would come out right where the neighborhood across the street has a road that comes out. And guys are already flying out of that day and night. They don't stop at the stop sign now. So, I mean, having 2 roads that intersect into each other is going to be crazy. One other concern is the flooding. Right now, we flood because all the houses they've built, the farmland that's been there that's held water for years is now homes. So the drainage would be a major issue because when it rains now, we flood. So, you know, we enjoy living in a country setting like this. I believe that this many homes, and you put 58 homes on that small of an area, is going to create a lot of noise. It's going to create a lot of traffic. Average of 2 vehicles per household. So if you put 58 homes in there, that's going to be around 100 and, let's see, that'd be, I got it here somewhere, about 116 cars. Now, from what I understand too, being this close to McNeese, a lot of college students will buy mobile homes and they want to get in these parks. And I know a lot of the parks are full, but when you get college students in a 3-bedroom home, now you have 3, maybe 4 college students living there. That's 3 to 4 cars added to our neighborhood, which is anywhere from 174 to 232 more cars in our small neighborhood. So, and the other thing I had was several years ago, I had to call a water well company out to drop my well lower in the water because the well was getting low. The aqueduct was getting low. So if this is in the parish and he taps into the same aqueduct with 58 homes, you know, that's going to drop our water table more. But along with that, 58 homes has to have somewhere to get rid of that wastewater. Again, we're back to, you know, our flooding issues of our ditches being full. So please help us out with this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Drott. We have a Robert Drott also. Please state your name and address, please, sir.
Hi, I'm Robert Drott. I live at 2052 Smith Road, just in front of that Russell right there. And I've come tonight to ask y'all please to oppose this, not to vote no. Having 58 homes on this property just is not going to, it's going to crowd the area. We already have, I think it's like almost 180 homes across the road from that right there, as well as a subdivision. We got 2 subdivisions. One thing that he's wanting to change the square footage here from 5,000 to 4,500. So why the change? Why allow something to get smaller here? So again, we have a big traffic issue out there. People in the subdivision across the way hardly even stop. I mean, y'all can come out any time of the day, especially in the mornings. Oh gosh, it's terrible. I can sit there and watch car upon car, and this is just going to really, really hurt us out there with the traffic. With the entry and exit right there, that subdivision, more likely, with the traffic coming out of the trailer park, it's going to be the same thing. I've lived out there 41 years. We've seen a lot of changes. Most of it was all farmland, farmed at one time. The adjoining property to where I am at, it was like about 40 acres at one time. It's all been divided up amongst family, but we also have another neighbor in the area that we all gonna suffer with this, having to see all these mobile homes just come in around us. This is just gonna be really hard for us to accept being closed in. I mean, right now we got freedom. We look out, it's country. It's still country to us somewhat, although it's kind of gotten, close to us and everything. But we just don't want to see this. I mean, it's just hard to understand that this will happen or could happen. And I'm just asking y'all please to vote no for this manufactured park to be constructed.
Thank you, Mr. Drott. Appreciate your comments. Thank you so much.
What's that?
I said thank you.
All right.
Any comments from our board members? Does the applicant have any other comments he'd like to make?
Yes, sir. So to address the noise, I have rental property now. I'm a no-nonsense guy. There won't be noise. As far as the cars, they're only going to be allowed 2 cars per slot. They're not going to have 3 and 4 cars a slot, so that's not going to be an issue. The flooding, we're going to have a retention pond there. We're not going to have any flooding issue. We're going to return our own water. We're going to let it fall off. We're working with Myers and Associates now to take care of that. As far as the water for the aquifer, we're actually tapping into the city water across the street and the city sewer across the street, so there'll be no effect on that whatsoever for these individuals. So far as, I think you said the landscape is changing. The landscape is changing. I mean, we're a growing city. The landscape's gonna change. With it not be a park, it's gonna be something else. So it's it's inevitable. And I mean, I lived in the country one time and people built around me. It's just what we're dealing with right now. So I'd ask you guys to approve this for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Any questions for the applicant?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you said that you can limit the amount of cars, and I'm sure you can do that. I go through some mobile home parks because I'm real curious as to how they're maintained and how they're gonna stay maintained, and how they're gonna keep their integrity, because most of them don't. And there's only one park that I find, and I'm sure there's others, that has maintained its status, and it's off of Farm Road. I don't know if you know where that is. It's not far from you. But I call it Farm Road. It's off of where McNeese Farm
Yes, sir.
was down there, okay? Sugarloaf. And it has maintained, and I don't know how they've done it or what they've done, but they've done something there to keep the atmosphere pretty consistent with from when it was first built. And if other parks or park owners would kind of follow at least the base model that they have, it sure would make these parks a lot nicer, you know. And I don't even know who they are. I couldn't
Yeah,
tell you.
so I
And
can't
like
speak
said,
to-
some of these parks are, and people are actually, I talked to some people that have paid more money for a mobile home that was in the park than it was worth, simply because it was in that park.
Right.
And so I'm thinking, well, there's something that whoever it is has that some of these others don't.
Well, I can't speak
keep
to
this
that part.
quality up, you know? And
Yes, sir. I can't speak to that part. I can tell you this. So we're gonna maintain all the yards. So the applicant, the homeowners won't take care of that. So we'll do that. And I'll have a full-time guy on site that, he will be on site every day. So that's one thing that we're gonna do. It's a little different than the other park. This is not gonna be this isn't gonna be mailbox money for us. We're actually gonna be there. We're gonna have a presence there. So, I mean, I don't know if that's what they're doing or whatever.
I don't
but
know.
I can tell you that's
I
what we're
just-
gonna do, to maintain it.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
A friend of mine stayed at Sugarloaf for a few years, and I know two of the things that they do, they only allow owners to occupy. They don't sublet. That's one thing. And then the age of the trailer is we're in general discussion, but the age of the trailer, if it's over 10 years or 5 years old, you can't move it in. And then if you try to sell that trailer that's existing there, if it's over 10 years, you can't sell it to someone and they'll move into it. You have to remove it. So it is a nice park.
Oh, it is. I
And
mean,
it
as far as
stayed nice
parks
for
go,
many years.
and
So
it
you're
has.
correct there.
And I just think it's a good business model.
Will you
for-
have any policy similar to that?
So, yes, some of the manufactured homes I'll own myself, so we
Okay.
won't have that issue as far as subletting.
Right.
And the ones that we do allow move in, we won't let, subletting for like other other landlords to have.
Good.
It will be a homeowner-owned trailer.
How many years do you foresee you keeping it?
Me? See, I'm 43,
way.
I would say about another 40 years.
Sounds good.
No, should they cover it?
Yeah, this is not to build and sell. I mean, that's not the plan on this one. Is that what you're asking me? No, this is to build and keep.
Any other questions or comments for the applicant? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I would like to make one comment to the opposition, is that in regards to the flooding, we do have a rules and bylaws in place to help protect you and the surrounding areas, that he will have to go through the plans with the engineering, and they'll make sure that he doesn't interfere with any of the water currently that you're getting in your area. That's just a comment, just want to let y'all know. If there's no other comments or questions from the boards, Ms. Christie, would you have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Galicia,
Yes.
Ms. Dickerson,
Yes.
Mr. Porsche,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yeah.
Mr. Smith, Mr. Navarre,
We're talking about just going from 5,000 to 4,500?
No, the
before
one-
that.
No, the
This is on the rezone.
Oh, okay.
This is just a rezone.
All right.
rezoning.
No.
Mr. Link,
No.
Ms. Hyatt, Mr. Armentar,
Yes.
7 for and 2 against.
Thank you, Ms. Christie. Motion carries. Agenda item number 14, Take appropriate action on VAR 1018-0055, a request by Reliable Properties LLC for a variance to allow a manufactured home park with less than the required lot square footage. Required 5,000 square foot, requesting a minimum of 4,500 square feet at 2070 Smith Road in Ward 3. I entertain a motion for approval. A motion by Coach Williams and a second by Ms. Dickerson. Ms. Wallace?
This is the same property considered in the previous agenda item. The requested lot square footage is the minimum required by the City of Lake Charles standards. That's the 4,500 square feet. And due to the close proximity of the site to the city limits, the property may be annexed at some point in the future. We have not received any written opposition to this request, and because the proposed density is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. We do have one blue card in opposition, but does the applicant have anything else he needs to say at this time? Mr. Robert Drott? State your name and address, please.
My name is Robert Drott. I live at 2052 Smith Road. Again, we just cannot imagine being boxed in and having, having all these trailers, and with the square footage and everything being changed, I don't quite understand all that stuff, but, it looks like to me you're trying to squeeze more in than as much as you can, much as possible. It's going to really create a lot of problems out there with the drainage. Like it was said earlier, we just can't imagine. Anytime you get 2-3 inches of rain out there, the road floods terribly. I mean, last weekend, I think when it rained, it took most of the day for the water to recede, to even go down. I mean, so unless something's done with the drainage to help us out there by creating this, by putting more traffic on our road and more people in the area, it's just not going to help us. And,
Thank you, Mr. Drott. Board members have any questions or comments?
Got a
Mr.
question
Forte.
for the applicant.
Okay.
I'm sure you've looked at it from the 5,000 square feet. Did y'all do a site plan on that? I'm just curious, what's the number of trailers difference if you were to go with 5,000?
52 to 58.
So only 6 trailers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And one thing I think it's very important to bring up, we had the property surveyed. Comes to find out the property lines are on 2 existing private driveways. And I've already, told both neighbors, hey, we'll move that in 10 feet, 5 feet, 8 feet, whatever, so we don't encroach that. So me boxing people in, I just think it's not really fair characterization of what we're trying to do here.
Right.
But yeah, it's you get 58 on the 45 and 52.2 to be exact on the
Okay.
5,000. And the 45 just came because of the possibility of annexation, and that's how we came up with
Sure.
that.
Yeah, I mean, the site plan looks like it works.
It does.
Yeah, I mean, so that's what I was curious about. I just want to know the difference between the
Thank you,
5,000. So we're talking about 6 trailers. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Christie, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Link?
No.
Mr. Smith? Ms. Galicia?
Yes.
Mr. Navarre?
No.
Mr. Porsche?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah.
Mr. Armentor?
Yes.
Ms. Dickerson?
Yes.
Ms. Hyatt?
Yes.
7 for and 2 against.
Thank you, Ms. Christie. Motion carries. Agenda item number 15, take appropriate action on RZ 1018-0104, a request by Brad Hardy to rezone from Central Business Commercial C3 and Manufactured Home Park or MHP to Manufactured Home Park or MHP to allow Manufactured Home Park 57 spaces at 2019 Sam Houston Jones Parkway in Ward 1. I'll entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Have a motion by Coach Williams. And a second by Ms. Dickerson. Ms. Wallace?
This property is located in Moss Bluff and encompasses 10 acres. The existing park has been in operation since the 1980s, with only a portion of the park being zoned appropriately. At this time, the applicant would like to expand the footprint of the park to the west of the currently approved spaces. The expansion requires that the zoning of the park be brought into compliance. We have not received written opposition to this request. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided the director may authorize adjustments in light of technical or engineering considerations, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that the 6-foot privacy fence on the north, east, and south property lines and the natural screening on the west property line be maintained in accordance with Section 2650 of the Parish Code, that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted, and that permitting is subject to approval of the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's recommendations? If you would, state your name and address, please, sir.
Brad Anthony, 6750 Rougon Road in Port Allen, Louisiana. Basically, this park is complete other than 5 trailers that electricity's not hooked up to. The zoning was, when we bought it, was wrong. The permit has always been for the same amount of mobile homes that we have on it now. Just the zoning was incorrect. So when we came to pull the last 5 permits, the zoning incorrectness came to light, and here we are trying to ask for a rezoning on this park.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
Any questions for the applicant from the board members? We have no questions. Thank you very much. No opposition. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Agenda item number 16, take appropriate action on RZ 1118-0105, a request by JATKY requesting to rezone from light commercial C1 to multifamily residential RM to allow residential development, 8 units in the 1200 block of Ham Reed Road in Ward 3. I'll entertain a motion for approval with conditions.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Link and a second by Coach Williams. Ms. Wallace?
This property is located south of Lake Charles and encompasses 1.5 acres. In 2005, the police tree rezoned the land from R1 to C1 to allow for future commercial development. In 2017, due to internal recording errors, the applicant was issued permits to construct single-family units on the abutting property. After our office corrected the errors on our maps, the applicant requested permits for single-family homes on this property and found the correct zoning would not allow the proposed uses. If approved, the applicant will construct 8 1,400 square foot units for rental purposes. The lots will not be sold. We have not received any written opposition to this request, and because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to plans, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development to minimize intrusion, that screening must be provided in accordance with Section 2650 of the Parish Code, and that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's recommendations? Does any of the board members have any questions or comments? No blue cards, no opposition. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Agenda item number 17 is to advise that the police jury took the following action on November the 15th, 2018, with reference to the recommendations of the Planning and Zoning Board from the November 13th, 2018 meeting. Margaret Watson, Highway 109 South, Planning and Zoning failed, police jury upheld. Norman Jones, Highway 171 North, Planning and Zoning approved, police jury upheld. PHA Enterprises, Common Street, Planning and Zoning approved, police jury upheld. Suzanne Carr, West Dave Dugas Road, withdrawn. The next item on the agenda is to advise that the next regularly scheduled Planning and Zoning meeting will be held on Tuesday, January the 15th, in the police jury meeting room. Our next item on the business, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Mr. Crane for the election of the chair.
Electric chair?
Electric chair. You can come up with it. Oh, man.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we start, I just want to thank you, Mr. Little and Mr. Ormator, for serving this year as chair and for vice chair. We appreciate that. Thank you for your service. And to all the members on this board, we appreciate y'all's service too. The decisions that y'all have to make are not easy, but they're vital to this community, and we appreciate that. So I'll open up the for nominations for chair.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Art Little to go
have
back in his chair.
Have a nomination for Mr. Art Little.
Second.
Do I have a second? We have a second.
I second.
Are there any other nominations for chair? Any other nominations? I'll entertain a motion to close the nominations at this time.
So moved.
Got a motion to
And I'll
close?
second.
Got a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Little, guess what?
Thank y'all, gentlemen.
You're the chair.
You got the electric chair again, Art.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. West, and board members for your support. This time, I'd like to open up the nominations for vice chair. Do we have any nominations?
I'd like to recommend Randy Amator.
Mr. Randy Ormator has been nominated.
Second.
We have a second. Do we have any other nominations?
I'll make a motion, we close them.
Motion to close the nominations. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Mr. Randy Ormator is our newly elected vice chair.
All right.
And at this time, I would like to say Merry Christmas and hope all our staff members and all our board members have a very Merry Christmas this year, and that Christ continues to bless all of us and helps us as we go forward in the upcoming year and try to help our parish do what is right and good for our citizens.
What I'm talking about.
Have a Merry Christmas.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Next item, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I want to stay.
All those in favor? Meeting closed.
Where's got the bottle?
Oh, okay.